Are you serious about getting simple? That's going to be the tough question for the day. Simplicity ends up making things easier for a lot of people, except for the designers of simplicity. Making things simple is actually very hard work. Are you serious about that? So the choice that I'm going to be presenting to you today is things that seem out of your control, things that don't seem to be within the scope of your responsibilities. Are you willing to push up to make things simpler for yourself, for the audience, for your vendors, the producers that are out there? Are you willing to push for that? What is simplicity? It's defined in all different ways. Here's my definition. You could argue with it, but I found it works in most organizations. Simplicity is about power. It's about everyone's power to do less of what doesn't matter and more of what does. So whenever you have any discussions about simplicity, it's not about forms, it's not about procedures, it's not about, flow charts, it's not even about taking costs out of situations. It's a power struggle, which brings me, even though it's small on the screen, brings me to one of the most critical questions you're going to have to talk about anytime you discuss simplicity. Simpler for whom? Most of the assignments I do for large corporations, it's senior teams sitting with me in back rooms saying, make it simpler for me to get my people to do what I want them to do. So simpler for whom is a power struggle, because that means somebody is going to have to absorb the complexity. If you want to make it easier for your producers, your vendors, the people that do, 50% of your content comes from outside? If you want to make it simpler for these guys to submit ideas, to submit films, to submit shows, well, you're going to have to absorb the complexity that you're now forcing on them into your own work streams. If you want to make it simpler for the workforce, the executive team is going to have to deal with less bureaucracy, less rules, more trust. What a concept. Simplicity is about trust. So I want you to know right off the bat, you guys are going to get down in the weeds about simplicity, and do we reduce this thing from 10 steps in a process to 3? Those are just details. The real essence of simplicity is a power struggle. And do you trust the people that you're going to make things simpler for? So always remember, simplicity is about power. Everybody familiar with your strategy document? I'm going to ask just for 2 sets of hands. Let's say 1 to 4. I'm going to ask you to raise your hand in a minute. If you would raise your hand for 1 to 4, it was pretty easy. It was very helpful. I know exactly what I need to do in 2011. Now I'm not even being facetious, and look at the laughter. I'm trying to give you guys a chance. Come on. Okay, 6 to 10. Arg, what the am I supposed to do with this? How many would you vote for that 30-page plan that it's 1 to 4 easy? Anybody? You're my witness. You got to report tomorrow, okay? How many of you would say 6 to 10? What am I supposed to do with this? How many? Show of hands. Now, you just got up here and told all those numbers. Those numbers are BS because you're making it too hard. Not you personally. You, entity, is making it too hard for these people to deliver those goods. You want to know why the stretch goal is going to be so hard to make? Because everybody in this room went, 50 people are in the room. Roughly 30 of them are going behind your and the senior team's back and doing things that are against what the structure and the process allows them to do, but they're doing it because they have to get the work done.
And yet, actually, I think some may feel they're the executive, some may feel they're the workforce. Because we point to the institution or we point to them all the time. And this is a very senior group. This is the most influential group in the BBC, I would say. We basically run and about £1 billion worth of business, right? Where is the executive? Where is the workforce? I'm not quite clear. It's a very generous way of me saying it.
It is universal. There are certain things. How I divide this. The earliest screen had communication on one side and tools and infrastructure.
Yeah.
Again, super simplified. It's not as clean as this, but the people who set the budgets and decide which programs and tools and infrastructure to put in place for the company, the senior team owns tools and infrastructure. The workforce owns communication, empowerment, decision-making. Now that's super simplified. There are many exceptions to that, but simply we all own it. But if you build for me a procedure and a process that I have to follow that makes me do 20 extra steps than different than I could do on my iPhone, but you force me to use that, then I just have to do my workaround or be subversive in some way or just be compliant. So basically, infrastructure, senior teams, communication, decision-making, empowerment, decision-making, everybody. You guys, what you do for your audience, what you do for your product, you guys are awesome storytellers. This is your profession, but you suck at it internally. You really do. Excite me that I want to be engaged about delivering on this strategic plan. Get me jazzed, get me engaged, get me excited. Get me involved. Instead of 30 pages of blah, 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 blah. What I ask people is compared to anything that you get for your personal use, how good is what the company gives you? I want to know that comparison. Now that technology has leapfrogged, so in the palm of your hand and all the apps that are available to you, you can do anything. Some of you are probably entrepreneurs running your own business on the side, running it far more efficiently than BBC is running your department. And what's happening is when I make the comparison, when I ask people to compare, what's the difference between what you hold in the palm of your hand and what BBC gave you? The survey results end up that it's a 35 to 75% reduction in personal productivity. Most everything that's designed to get work done is corporate-centered versus user-centered. What it means is all the tools and processes that Val just listed up there, they're designed to help BBC succeed, not necessarily the individuals who work here. We've got to push back on that.